during the past 6 years, you know that the previous administration actually didn't use yung ating arbitral victory. Di ba? I remember sinabi ni President Duterte dyan in July 2016, kakaupo pa lang niya, soft landing. He didn't want to antagonize China. And it took a very long time toward the end of his administration before he actually mentioned clearly the importance of the arbitral award. So, ano yung nawala sa atin over the past 6 years, and are we doing enough to make up for those?
Well, we're catching up, basically. I think President Duterte's plan was to approach China in a manner that we will be able to talk to them and peacefully try to resolve all these issues. And in fairness to him, he really meant what he said. He wants to see how we can do it. And if it means that we will have to distance ourselves from their number one competitor, which is the United States, he was also trying to do that. But in the end, nothing really happened. China did not see that as a way to be able to peacefully resolve the issues. It became, well, I wouldn't want to say it became worse, but it is worse today in the sense that now they are even telling us to remove whatever structure we have right now in the Ayungin Shoal. So it's a catch-up situation to a certain extent, but now I think it's just it's the inflection point. We have to do something about it. Otherwise, as I said, we will wake up one day, wala na tayong bayan.
Okay. Isa pang consistent position by China in terms of dealing with claimant countries, in particular the Philippines. Ang portrayal nila sa United States and other outside parties like Japan, Australia, Canada, EU, sinasabi, okay, manghihimasok sa bakuran namin. This is between the Philippines and China. So basically, the bilateral track, no? Would that still be a wise move if ever that is even being considered by the Marcos administration? Or we've learned our lessons from that, hindi na pwedeng gamitin yung bilateral track?
Bilateral track, for me, when you are going to do any negotiation, you always negotiate from a position of strength. Now, we all admit we don't have the wherewithal to be able to negotiate from a position of strength. But now that we have disagreements with the United States and strengthening our relationship, I think we're in a better position now to be able to sit down and say, eto, seryoso ang pag-usapan natin dito. Because we have an ally that is prepared now to support us in this endeavor. That is what's important, you see. You never negotiate from a position of weakness because they'll just push you around, which is exactly what they did. You know, they tell us one thing, but they do something else. Eh, hindi pwedeng ganun eh. Kaya nga nagagalit ang tao eh. And you know, the ordinary Filipino can see it very clearly. Masyado na tayong ginagago, basically. That's really what it is. Eh, hindi na pwede yan. Because not only with the majority of Filipinos are going to feel as if things are just going down the drain, they're feeling helpless. Our fishermen is really in the front line right there. Many of our fishermen are so frustrated. They come home after a whole night of fishing, whatever it is. Konti lang yung nakukuha nila. It's not enough to be able to survive and to make money out of it. Maybe sometimes what I'm hearing is that they go home with just enough to feed their family. That's all. Resources natin yan eh. And we're only talking about fishes here, yung fishermen and everything. Hindi pa kasali dyan yung the destruction of the environment. Hindi pa kasali dyan yung oil and gas na kailangan rin natin yan. In 2 years' time, our energy requirement is going to be so high. And we need all of those resources, which is ours. That's the most important thing. Atin yan eh. Bakit naman nating ipamimigay? Di ba? Or we just say, sige, kasi nyo na muna yan. Hindi pwede eh. Magugutom tayong lahat yan.
Buti nabanggit niyo yung food security. Buti
Food
binanggit niyo yung food
security.
security issue kasi sa iba baka masyadong malayo sa bituka yung pinag-uusapan natin. Pero I hope we cannot overemphasize this, no, yung issue ng food security dahil
Hmm?
exclusive economic zone sa mga viewers po natin, tayo po ang may exclusive rights or sovereign rights para dun sa mga
Exactly.
resources na meron dyan kasama yung isda. So kung hindi
Exactly.
natin ma-exploit or even ma-explore lang including yung natural resources dyan, tayo po yung talo. Now, nabanggit niyo po
Exactly.
yan, no? Okay, napaka-importante niyan. I think it's pretty clear naman, no, to any right thinking Filipino kung sino yung nasa tama at sino yung nasa mali, even without actually reading the arbitral award. Although I would suggest our kababayans to actually read the 2016 ruling by the Permanent Court for Arbitration. Pero nga, I'd like to go to the issue of the influence operations. Kayo, sabi niyo, di ba, when we started this discussion, kayo mismo na bibiktima, pati ilang mga diplomats na kilala nyo, pagdating naman dun sa larger influence operations from within, yung para bang they're trying to activate, ang sinasabi nila parang nag-invest sila sa ilang mga Pilipino dito over the years and now these people are coming out in defense of China. From where you're sitting, how serious is this influence operations by China? From
Well,
inside us, dito.
very, very serious because, alam mo, in any kind of, I don't want to even call it a war, but it is some kind of a warfare that we're facing because we have a country that obviously wants to influence public opinion. They're taking, they're saying that this area is ours or whatever it is. We're facing very serious issues here, and so trying to influence or the influencers is another way of being able to change the narrative, which is which is being done right now. That is the reason why we have to come out. And that's the reason why I told Secretary Manalo and I told also the President that we have to set the record straight that ito yung nangyayari dyan. Hindi natin pwede itago yan. Kailangan ilabas lahat yan. At kailangan malaman ng taong bayan lahat yan na nangyari. So that they will see that what the government will do in relation to what we're doing with the United States and other countries is clearly the right way to go. Ngayon, ang ginagawa nila is obviously they're doing discrediting, no? Hindi, yan, pro-American yan, Amerikano yan, or amboy and everything like that. Para ang tao, hindi maniniwala, hindi, wala, kasi believe lang masyado. Sana kung ganun lang talaga, hindi nga eh. Alam naman natin, very serious itong these things that we're facing right now. And ako, naniniwala ako, sa totoo lang, that if we do not do what we're doing right now, we're going to be in a worse shape in less than 3 to 5 years. Why? Because, number one, as I said, we need those resources. We cannot lose those resources. We cannot give up on those resources because magugutom tayo lahat. And secondly, what's important is that if our country is influenced by another country to be able to, that is parang we are going to become a vassal state. They're saying, para colony of the United States. That's not true. Filipinos love to go to the United States, whether we tell them, huwag na kayo pumunta doon. But they want to go there. We have 4.3 million Filipinos living in the United States, Filipino Americans. And every other person has a cousin, relative, or friend who lives in the United States. That's a given. The relationship we have with the United States is very special compared to other countries. And there is nothing you can do about that. And Filipinos will never go either way. It will take centuries for things to change.
Actually,
That's the fact of life.
It's validated also by a survey before, no? That Filipinos trust the United States more than they trust China. Although sa akin naman, kaibigan naman dapat lahat yan. Pero syempre,
Yan ang gusto natin.
pag inaabuso ka, hindi pwede magpakatanga. That's the point.
No, definitely. Alam mo, I was in China, Christian, in 1976. I was there in 1976 with our basketball team. We had what we call basketball diplomacy. I was a news reporter. Sumama ako sa basketball team. My uncle, Eduardo Romualdez, who was our ambassador to Washington then, was appointed by President Marcos Sr. to be the head of the delegation to start working on diplomatic relations that we were going to open. And at that time, China was practically backwards completely. There was only one hotel, the Friendship Hotel. But I could see the potential of what would happen in China. So sabi ko, this is the right way to go. Kailangan meron tayong magandang relations sa China kasi it's a big country and it had a lot of potential. And sure enough, when we went back in 1983 with President Marcos Jr., he was the governor of Ilocos then, talagang nag-iba na. And then in 1999, I went back there. In 2011, I went with President Noynoy Aquino. China was really what it is. And certainly it would have been perfect for us to have a strong relationship with a country like China, because not only are they our neighbors, but they were a country that was really moving forward. But now that this is happening here, it's a different story altogether. They have a different objective. And that is where I think we have to draw the line. We have to say what is it that we want. We want to keep our country, our territory, the way it is, not to be taken over by any one country. The United States is not taking over our country. They may have a lot of influence, but that is because of years of that kind of relationship. As I said, every other Filipino wants to go to the United States. That's a fact of life.
Okay. By the way, ito nga, speaking of options, are you personally, no? Do you agree with the idea of bringing this issue before the United Nations? Na meron tayong arbitral award and then it's time to go to the UN.
I think it should be crafted in such a way that when we bring it up to the UN, it is more of really pointing out that the arbitral award needs to be given more teeth because of what's happening. Now, if I don't, I am not a lawyer, and of course, we need the advice of good people that were behind this, like one of our people in the Department of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Henry Bensurto, who was responsible to a certain extent of how we were able to win the arbitral award. Of course, we have Justice Antonio Carpio, who was also very much involved in the legal arguments on how we won the arbitral award. All of that would have to be studied, and when we bring it up to the United Nations, it is more to give it even more teeth, in the sense that the whole world, which is already happening right now, we have so much support from a lot of countries. I think it's close to over 100 at least that are supporting us in this arbitral award, and it's good to have that kind of support coming from the international community.
Kung nagustuhan nyo po itong video na ito, paki-like at share na lang po para mas marami pang makakita at makapanood. Kung gusto nyo po makibalita, follow nyo na rin po ako sa aking mga social media accounts na nakasulat po sa screen. Pwede rin po kayo magpadala ng super thanks, super like, super chat at super sticker sa YouTube, saka Facebook stars po. Alam nyo po, malayo po mararating ito para makagawa pa po kami ng mas maraming video na makatutulong po sa pagpapakalat ng tamang impormasyon para sa bawat Pilipino. Kada like, subscribe, follow at share ay pagsuporta po sa tunay na independent journalism sa bansa. Maraming salamat po.